Attention all cars. Are you a woman or Hispanic who planted a garden between the years of 1981 and 2000? Did you dream of asking for a loan to grow your garden, but you didn't get a loan to grow a garden? If so, you could be a victim of discrimination and entitled to $50,000. That sounds crazy, right? It's not. People will actually wind up with money. Here to explain is radio talk show host and Fox News contributor Rick Sanchez. Good morning to you, Rick.
And good morning to you.
So it looks as if the federal government is going to award $1.3 billion to women and Hispanics because somehow they were discriminated against when it came to farming back in 1981 to 2000. What?
Yeah, it turns out that most of the people who got those loans, which essentially are subsidies, which is the government's way of sticking its hand in your pocket or my pocket and giving it to somebody else so that they can have an unfair advantage in their business practices. That's essentially what subsidies are. But apparently most of the people who received those subsidies during those years that you just described happen to be white males. So to even the playing field, now they're going to be able to give these same subsidies to people who say, hey, I want to farm too. So they raise their hands, and if they happen to be Hispanics or women, then they will receive $50,000 in subsidies, which, let me say once again, is the government's way of sticking its money in Steve's pocket and giving it to somebody else so that they can have an advantage. It's the government picking who wins and who loses, thereby zombifying all of us. I said that word, by the way, so Brian would hear it.
He did hear it. He's not nodding over on the... It is a real word he's saying. Rick, so the deadline is coming up, and that's why this is suddenly a big story.
Yeah.
Why are they doing it? I just don't quite get it.
Well, I'll tell you what it does, and I think that may even be more important. And, you know, this is real important to me as a Latino, as an immigrant, as somebody who came to this country from someplace else. Look, as a Hispanic, and you can say what you want about us as a group of people or as a subset of people who happen to live in the United States, just like you could say anything about anybody. But the fact of the matter is, Hispanics in general, it can be said, since they've been coming to this country, have worked really hard to establish themselves. And the key there is worked really hard to take care of their families. They tend to try and kind of do things for themselves. This is part of the government's plan to try and make them dependent on a nanny state, something that's happened already to too many citizens of this great country. And it's bad. It's bad for the country, and it's bad for this particular group of people who basically wants to stand on their own 2 feet and say, look, just leave me alone. I don't need this. If I have to work 3 jobs, I'll work 3 jobs.
Here, we've got a quotation from the Ag Secretary, fellow by the name of Tom Vilsack. He says, quote, Hispanic and women farmers who believe they have faced discriminatory practices in the past from the U.S. Department of Agriculture file a claim in order to have a chance to receive a cash payment or loan forgiveness. Now, one of the things you got to worry about, though, Rick, is there's a possibility that people who think, okay, I see a paycheck there, they might go ahead, because the documentation needed to get the money is so lax. There could be some fraud involved in people saying, yeah, I thought about becoming a farmer, so I need to get paid.
It's already happening. No, you're right on. It's already happening. They've actually had lawyers already looking at this and saying, well, wait a minute, you don't really have to prove that you've ever even farmed. After all, what's wrong with, then you'd be discriminating against people who may have thought about farming but didn't, but they didn't because they didn't know that the money was available. So they're actually stretching it this far. Look, the fact is, it's not based on the government to decide who gets money so that they can run their business. It should be up to the market to determine who wins and who loses. It doesn't matter if you're a transvestite from Honduras or whether you're a white guy from Iowa. The fact of the matter is, it's not the government's place to be giving my money, which they took out of my pocket, to somebody else, whether it's an oil driller or a farmer in Topeka or a Hispanic or a woman. And that's the message that I think people should take out of this story. Because once you decide, Steve, today it's women and Hispanics, tomorrow it's going to be Asians, and then it's going to be this, and then it's going to be that, and pretty soon look, we don't have enough money as it is. That's the problem, and that's the overriding message that we're talking about.
Rick Sanchez joining us from Miami. He's been looking at my Wikipedia page because I was born in Iowa and worked in Topeka and was former president of the Future Farmers. Where's my check? All right, Rick, thank you very much.
I hope I didn't lose any of your peeps. Oh, my goodness.
All right, Rick, thank you very much, and good to have you here in the Fox family.
All right, it's a pleasure.